Yeah, how do we start this off?
Welcome.
This is what we were doing yesterday. We were doing background music, and it was actually pretty funny.
I didn't recognize that one, John.
You didn't? No.
Huh. Was that a Western, a drama?
I don't know. I was just trying to give it a little podcast theme thing going here.
I like that.
All right. So many times I'll be at home reading something, and I will think to myself, oh, I'd love to share this, either with the gang here at the Outpost or especially share it with our friends who listen in or read our blogs or tune into the podcast or the different things we do here. So let me do that today. Let me share something that years ago I was introduced to The Imitation of Christ by Thomas A. Kempis. And it is a really profound book. Now, I probably need to give the qualifier that there's some really religious stuff in it, but when he's good, he's really good. And when he's religious, it's just because he was, in a very religious culture and context at the time, So, but here's the quote that has stuck with me. When Jesus is near, all is well, and nothing seems difficult. When he is absent, all is hard. When Jesus does not speak within, all other comfort is empty. But if he says only a word, it brings great consolation. There's just something so deeply, profoundly true about that.
Yes.
That I wanted to bring in these things that I'm reading from time to time and let us react to it. And then, honey, you were saying this morning, let's talk about Jesus today on the podcast. And so I thought of that quote and thought that it would be a good place for us to begin from.
It's so good. You could just read that over and over again because it's so profoundly true. It's so true. Yeah, I wanted to talk about how is he coming these days, because he comes in so many different ways. And I love how he is coming for me. So we can start there.
Okay,
maybe you guys can bounce off that.
Please.
I guess I've been really struck with these last few days in particular is his faithfulness. He is so faithful. I've been a Christian for 30 years now. How did that happen? But it's different than it was 20 years ago or 10 years ago, certainly 30 years ago. And it's good. And I like how he's growing me up. And probably the last 2 days have been good. The last 3 days before that were really hard. Not hearing his voice, not feeling his comfort, and therefore not feeling any comfort, but wanting it, And it's like his faithfulness in trusting me, you got to go deep. That's what he does. You don't always feel him or hear him, or the scriptures aren't always jumping off the page. This is just for me, but it's this opportunity to, we live by faith, not by sight. So sometimes I don't see him or feel him, but my faith, it's an opportunity for it to go deeper, and that just brings such pleasure to his heart. I love that. I mean, I don't enjoy it mostly when I'm hearing him and happy and God is so good and present, but honestly, that isn't always. That's not even the majority of the time. It's more not, but knowing that he didn't go anywhere. He's so completely faithful, and the way he's been reminding me of that has been through music lately. I love music. I love the outdoors. He can use all of it. But really, in this last month in particular, through secular songs, through worship songs, me just flipping on the radio, and it's words that are right there that are just for me. That, how do you do that, God? But He's so right there, and it's almost having the eyes to see it, rather than going, "Oh, good song, huh? Isn't that a coincidence?"
Yes.
No, that's God.
For example.
Okay, I have two. So, for example, a few weeks ago, John and I were going to do a radio interview on love and war. And I didn't want to do a radio interview on that. I don't talk to anybody about anything.
This must have been before 10 a.m.
But after a cup of coffee, so I'm in trouble and just really needing the truth to invade my thinking and my soul, and letting John know how I was feeling. And we prayed together and breaking agreements, which is so powerful. It's just, it's a way of life. So pray with John. We break agreements. I break agreements, and I rose to the occasion. The lies fell off and the truth prevailed, and I did the interview, and I wanted to talk to people. And anyway, later in the day, I'm driving in the car, and I turn on the radio station, and it's a Christian station, and it was some goofy song, so I switched it to some secular station, and immediately these words come on. This is rock station going, "According to you, I'm stupid. I'm ugly. I can't do anything right." And I'm like, yes. That's according to you, I'm a mess in a dress. Can't show up on time to save my life. And then the music shifts and it says, but according to Him, I'm beautiful. I'm wonderful. He can't get me out of His head. It goes on this according to Him. And I had just been living it that morning, according to Him, according to the enemy. I'm a mess. I can't do anything right. But according to Jesus, I'm everything He ever wanted. And that's true in the moment. So I did what any woman would do. I went home and bought the song, playing it over and over. Just that it was a rescue and a reminder that's not just a monthly or a weekly reminder of, we're in this thing, but now daily. And then the next thing he did was, I'm just telling stories of when I'm a mess. So I hope you're all a mess sometimes too, because I'm a mess, you're a mess. But I was about to go actually to a party, and I was not feeling party-like. I was...
This was 2 nights ago.
This is 2 nights ago, and I love these people. It's not like I'm going someplace hard. I'm going someplace wonderful. But I'm not wonderful on the inside, and praying that I could be, that I could be loving and not just, or stay home. So I got a text message from a gal saying, you need to get this song just as soon as possible. So I did, and I downloaded it, iTunes, yay, and it's this profoundly true song that I told John I have now my theme song for my life. But it was the song, the words in it saying, though my heart condemns me, I will live in the truth, that I delight you. And just over and over about who am I? I am yours. I am your beauty. And owning it, that even in the moment of not feeling those things to be true at all, I don't know if it's PMS or emotions or exhaustion or what the cause, but just not having an experiential moment of this is true. But nonetheless, it is true that I delight you. The words they sing, I know I delight you. To sing that when you're feeling anything but delightful. So it was a rescue. It was a rescue, and just like, no, that is absolutely true. Even in this moment when I'm feeling anything but my heart is turning to you, Jesus, for a cry for help. And He loves that. That brings Him delight. So He's been coming through music. And I'm grateful.
That's great.
Yeah.
Surprising you, showing up through music.
Right. And in the midst of it, if you're feeling great and you just did something incredibly loving, okay, now bring me a good song. It has nothing to do with how I'm feeling or living. Ultimately I made a choice. I belong to Him, and that is what is true. When He looks at me, He sees something different than what I see or even other people see. So that's just really good.
It's really good.
When Jesus is near, all is well. Right? If he says only a word, it brings great consolation.
When you read that, John, similar to Stacy, I felt like, just pushing away from the microphone, and you could read that just over and over for 40 minutes and just kind of go into a mode of worship and just asking God to be near. Because I know that's true, and I forget it. And it's just true, but I get swept up in stuff. My own brief story is simply, I don't know that I know much about what it means to depend on him. And my current story is asking him, Lord, what does it look like to abide in you, to let you be near, and for me to depend on you? And it feels like something I know something about, but almost nothing about. And so when you're reading that, I'm just going, Lord, that's what I long for, is your nearness, your comfort, you to be present in ways that I haven't discovered or come to know, or I move quickly from to something else.
Yep. This morning I was going to do what I normally do, which is I get up, I have a cup of yerba mate, I say my daily prayers, and then I blast. I blast into the day, and I've already got my to-do list and things I've got to get done, and I could just tell, and it's like, that's not a good choice. This is not a good choice. I'm already getting wound up, and I just chose, no, that's not God. That's some driven thing in me, but this is not the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. So pause. And Jesus, what do you want to talk about? Sit back down in my office, close the door, and just say, no, I'm about face, take it out of fourth gear, and just ask, Jesus, what do you want to talk about? Forgive me for just talking at you this morning in my prayers, rather than giving you space and room to speak back to me. It was so good. It was so good. And I just was kind of moved to open my journal, and in the front of my journal, I'll do this every time I start a new journal, I'll kind of glue in there the scriptures on who I am in Christ. We picked this up from Neil Anderson years ago, and it's just so helpful. And then I've kind of reorganized them according to the work of Christ. Through the cross, I'm dead to sin, and I'm delivered from evil. And through the several scriptures on that, and then through the resurrection, I'm alive with the life of Christ, and through the ascension, I have the authority. And oh my goodness, just to sit there and just linger with that for a moment. Let that speak again to me. And I looked at these scriptures hundreds of times, probably thousands by now, over the years. But this morning, it was exactly what I needed to just reorient me, just calm down, John, dial back into what's true. Don't go into blast mode. And then just kind of be quiet in that and be with God. It was huge. It was absolutely huge. And it was this: when Jesus is near, all is well, and nothing seems difficult. When he is absent, all is hard. But, I think we blame the absence of God every time on God, when for me this morning, it was me. He was there, but I was flying out the door. I was ready to just charge into the day, which is so fueled by fear. It's up to me and all that old stuff, and just know, when Jesus does not speak within, all other comfort is empty. But if he says only a word, it brings great consolation. Jesus, speak to us.
Yes.
Speak to us. We hope that this has been a helpful podcast for you. It was sure good for me just to hear your stories, hon. You told me that God gave you a song, but that is really good. So thanks for listening to Ransomed Heart. As always, we encourage you to come to our website at ransomedheart.com for all kinds of other stuff, to register for one of our live events, to see what we're blogging about, see what new resources we're putting out, get into the ransomedheart.net community that's there. Love to have you drink deeply from what we're discovering about how good Jesus is.
That's good.